right, so without further ado, I would like to introduce our first keynote speaker. His name is Terry Hickey, and he's the Chief Analytics Officer at CIBC. And he is also part of their Direct Banking Innovation and Analytics team. He's tasked with accelerating the adoption and development of AI, so watch out, Jeff Hinton. And most recently, he was featured as a keynote speaker at FinTech Canada, Rotman School of Business, and at Beyond 2018 ThoughtSpot Data and Analytics Conference. So welcome, Terry Hickey.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. How you doing? So, in the next 15 minutes, I hope to inspire everyone here to be a better person. I'm going to talk to you today about what we can individually do from an analytics perspective to make this planet a better place for everyone. Now, I need to get to my slides. I think of myself as an optimist. I like to think that the glass is half full. I like to think that we all have good intentions and you all want to make this a better place. Now, I know that's true because in Canada, there are 85,000 registered not-for-profits. There are 13 million people, or Canadians, that are donating their time to those not-for-profits to the tune of 2.1 billion hours back to those not-for-profits. So that's fantastic. But I'm going to talk to you today about what we can do from a data and analytics perspective for those organizations. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about not-for-profits, but I'm also going to talk about what you can do inside your own organizations that you don't have to necessarily work with not-for-profits, but you can. But I'm going to talk about some of the things that we're doing at CIBC to make this a better place as well. Now, we all take for granted all of the things that we know and the things that we can do with data and analytics. As we work every day, we see that we can optimize offers, we can do targeted offering, we can do personalization, we can figure out how to write a chatbot to interact with a person. We, in our daily lives at work, know exactly how analytics can help us. Not-for-profits don't have people that look like us. I believe that you are the modern day superheroes, that you have powers that you need to use for the benefit of the planet. You know things, you see patterns, you can make things happen by looking at information, organizing it, making sense of it, and then helping these organizations do something with it. The number of not-for-profits that have skills that look like yours is probably in the less than 1%. And they're typically the very largest organizations. And even some of the very largest ones that are out there, they don't even have the skills that you have that could help them make a difference. Imagine if you could work with a not-for-profit and look at their information and say, these are the kinds of people that have been donating for the past year or 2 years, but they haven't donated this year. Maybe you should go and connect with them, or maybe you should call them, or maybe you should email them. Simple things like this that we take for granted and barely even consider from an analytics perspective, but these are the things that these organizations rely on. They rely on funds from people like you and I and corporations to keep their businesses running. So we have to help them. This is, I believe, the thing that you can do and we can do to make this a better place. So I'm going to talk about, quickly, I'm going to talk about 3 different not-for-profits in no particular order and for no particular reason. I'm really just trying to give examples of where data and analytics is being used across our country and around the world to make this place better. So the first one is the crisis text line. Now, I don't know if anyone in the room has ever heard of the crisis text line, but it only started in 2015. And since 2015, so it's coming up on 4 years, in August, they just handled their 100 millionth text. This is mostly targeted at teens that are having problems, they're stressed, they're doing all of they're suffering from all of these kinds of things. And in fact, they believe, although it took them 4 years to get to their first 100 million texts, or their 100th million text, it'll only be another year and a half before they get to the next 100 million. They don't have the capacity or the resources to be able to handle all of these kinds of transactions. Now, they're not using chatbots to interact with people, but what they are doing is they're looking at the texts that are coming in and they're trying to prioritize. If there's a teen that's suicidal, that needs to talk to someone or chat to someone immediately, they're using AI to be able to identify those kinds of inquiries or questions and move those transactions or move those requests up to the top so that they can get handled immediately. Imagine if they had the ability to look at their chat logs and tell you or tell us that between 7 to 9 p.m. on Mondays to Fridays, children, high school children, are the most stressed. And maybe they could then change the hours of their guidance counselors to be working more after hours than during hours. Those insights sit in the data that they have. And they are using some of the technology that I'm talking about. But again, we've got opportunities here in Canada with Bell and a whole bunch of other organizations that are doing this kind of stuff. Now, it's not just teens that are having these kinds of issues. As employees, we also have these kinds of things. We need to talk to someone. People are going through divorces. People are stressed about their work. People are stressed about, am I going to have a job tomorrow? And these kinds of things. And organizations like Morneau Charpel and a bunch of others are using chatbots to handle those simple kinds of inquiries. And then once they get to a point where it's something that needs to go to a person to handle, they can do that handoff. It allows them to be able to interact with more people than they would have otherwise. So that's one first example. The second example is fighting world hunger. So the World Food Program is a UN program that tries to feed people around the world. There are 80 million people, 80 million people that are being fed by this program in more than 82 countries around the world. And there's a number of organizations that are helping them, and they open their data. They actually have something called Open Data for the World Food Program that you can go to, and you can help them provide insights. I'll talk about one organization a little bit later on that is visualizing where the food's coming from and where it needs to go to and how it's prioritized and those kinds of things. This data is available to people like you. Again, you have unique skills that you can use to help make this a better place. The last example is human trafficking. And human trafficking, often people think to themselves, well, that's not a problem that we have here. That's not true whatsoever. It's an unbelievable problem here in Toronto and in Canada. I was at the Smith School of Business a few weeks ago listening to the Toronto Police talking about what a problem this is. And what I learned for the first time, and I hadn't realized this because I was under this misconception that it was mostly people that were being captured overseas and being brought here to Canada and put into the sex trade. In fact, it's girls, mostly girls, between the ages of 13 and 16 that are from here. Some boys, mostly girls though, and it has no bias. Their parents could be a doctor or a lawyer or a police officer or a postal worker. It doesn't care. They target the people that are on the fringe. They try and find these girls that are ostracized or loners or don't fit in, and they make them feel special. And they target them, they make them feel like they are someone. They then capture them and bring them into their environment. They hop them full of drugs, and they start taking pictures of them so that they can't leave, because then that person is ashamed. Now, each girl, each victim brings in for these pimps over $250,000 per year. And in Toronto alone, this is over a $200 million problem. So there are charities here, to me, is Cause, Covenant House, that are working on helping both getting people out of the trade and then reintegrating back into society. It is a problem that we suffer from in Canada that we don't realize on a daily basis. So we have to fix this. So it's not just about things that we can do from a not-for-profit perspective. I actually think that there are opportunities in Canada that can help highlight data and analytics across, highlight data and analytics for the country as a whole. We have to stop this brain drain. We've got fantastic programs like the Smith School of Business for the Masters in Advanced Analytics and AI. We've got Schulich, we've got Rotman, we've got a whole bunch of schools that are out there that are focused on this, and we need to keep these people here. And one of those opportunities is with Vector. And I just wanted to read you the mission statement from Vector, because I think it's fantastic. The Vector Institute will drive excellence and leadership in Canada's knowledge, creation, and use of artificial intelligence to foster economic growth and improve the lives of Canadians. I think that if we could all do that, this would be a better place for everyone. They are absolutely doing things for good. They're building cancer screening solutions. They're building new tools for natural language processing. They're helping build self-driving cars. The people that are amazing, and they're trying to make a difference for the world. And yes, it's a little bit different for not-for-profit, but these are also organizations that we can work with and leverage their skills within our own organizations. What can you be doing inside your organization? So this is just some of the things that we're doing, and this is not meant as a commercial. It's really meant more as a, here's what we do. What is it that you're doing? Or here's some ideas about what you could be doing inside your organization. So we absolutely do work with the Vector Institute. We've got Vanitha Lucas, who's working on Viz for Social Good. We have the Data Viz Art competition that we run in conjunction with Deloitte every year, where we're looking for students across the country to help them build up their skills as it relates to data visualization. And we give out prize money for the best group that's doing this. We are also the sponsors of the Leaders Prize, which will be awarded next June as part of Communitech, and it's going to give $1 million to the winning team. I will say that again. The winning team will get $1 million. And the use case that the Leaders Prize is looking to do is to how do you find fake news? That's almost the extent of what the use case is that we're advertising. And what we're looking for are teams of people. This isn't for companies. This isn't just for students. This is for people like you in this room to come up with the best ways to fight fake news. That's an opportunity that you have if you want to put your skills to use as well in a different capacity. $1 million is always worth it. I believe it is, at least. So how do you get involved? There's a number of different organizations that are out there. I know that Data for Good will be coming up on stage a little bit later on and talking, but there's also DataKind, there's obviously ABD as well. There's a lot of ways that you can get involved and help make this place better. And what I want to finish off with is, if you think back to how I think of you as the modern day superheroes, and you've got these powers, I want you to think about using these powers for good, not evil. Because if it's not you, who's going to do it? Thank you so much.